The Niners' biggest weakness was interesting is coming into the offseason, I think most people would agree their two biggest weaknesses were cornerback and special teams, and they addressed both. They signed an expensive starting corner and added 3 special team specialists who are all very good. Like George Odom, excellent special teams player. Oren Burks, excellent special teams player. Ray McLeod is an upgrade over Brandon Ayuk, who was quite a disappointment as a punt returner. I campaigned for him. He didn't come through. Better wide receiver than punt returner. McLeod's going to help there. But in the process of addressing those two weaknesses, a lot of Niner fans feel like, boom, well, this team has no more weaknesses. They just added, filled the only holes. I disagree. I think there's a weakness now, a clear weakness on this team that wasn't there last season. Offensive line. The Niners have lost 2 starters on the offensive line, Laken Tomlinson and Tom Compton. And they're not going to replace Laken Tomlinson. That's going to be Aaron Banks, most likely. They'll probably sign some reserve guard who is not a starter just to say that there's competition, but it's going to be Banks. And then at right tackle, you lost Tom Compton, who's not a great starter, but the Niners won 9 of 12 games with him in the starting lineup. He's going to be starting for Denver, and the replacement is supposed to be Mike McGlinchey. Well, we don't know when he's going to play, if he's going to play. He might not play this year. He's a very serious injury. So all of a sudden, if he doesn't play, who's the right tackle? Justin School? Colton McKivitz? Jalen Moore? No one good enough. So to me, what the Niners have on their offensive line is the best left tackle in football and 4 question marks. Aaron Banks as a starter? Question mark. Alex Mack? He's going to be 37 in November? Question mark. Daniel Brunskill? He's not a question mark. He's a known mediocrity. Sorry, Daniel. He's solid, but he's like the lowest tier of starter you could have on an offensive line. Daniel Brunskill at right guard, and then right tackle, total question mark. How do you let 2 starters walk on the offensive line, left guard and right tackle, and say, well, the replacements are a second-year player who didn't play as a rookie, and a guy who tore the quadricep off his bone and may or may not play in 2022. That's the plan? Oh, or Justin School, who tore his ACL last year. That's the plan? And the Niners are real nonchalant about it. Like, it's cool, whatever. We got a great left tackle. This is why I was a little hesitant on spending all that money on Trent Williams. Yeah, he's great. But one left tackle doesn't make a great offensive line. I was kind of like into spreading the money around. So you'd have like a good starting left guard and a good starting right tackle and maybe a starting center who's younger than 37. But no, the Niners are like the only position that matters on the offensive line is left tackle. We can just fill in the rest with dollar store general purchases. And that's a scary strategy. Of all the positions you want to save money at, offensive line, especially when you're trying to make a smooth transition, a smooth landing for Trey Lance. You want him to be his best. You want to look smart for trading the Deshaun Watson. The Browns traded 3 first-round picks for Watson. The Niners traded 3 first-round picks for freaking Lance. Spent 3 firsts on Lance, while the Browns spent 3 firsts on Watson. Damn, that's expensive. And now you're going to take away 2 starters in the offensive line and be like, all right, go justify our investment in you. Go play like Deshaun Watson. Man, that's rough. Maybe if the Niners didn't have Jimmy Garoppolo in their books, they could afford Laken Tomlinson. And I know people are like, well, you shouldn't spend that much on Laken Tomlinson. Like, okay, well, what's the alternative? Just get way worse at left guard? Why is that the option? I'm all about replacing Laken Tomlinson if there's actually like an upgrade for cheaper, but you don't have that. You got Aaron Banks, who you didn't trust to even back up. Like he was a healthy scratch on game days. The Niners' attitude was, God forbid someone gets hurt. We can't have Aaron Banks go in the game for a minute. Now he's a starter? Come on. This is bad. You could get Trey Lance hurt. You had him playing behind backups last year in the preseason. He got hurt. Now you got backups on the offensive line. The Niners created a weakness this offseason. I'm sure they're going to address offensive line eventually. But when? And with what? Good players? Or just dollar general store players? Grant, look at Luke Fortner and Donovan West in the draft. Both solid centers that can play at both guard spots. Okay. That sounds good. But they also need a tackle. What has to happen for Lynch to be on the hot seat? Niners missed the playoffs. Niners missed the playoffs. Although what I think could happen with him is eventually he'll just take one of these announcer jobs, right? I don't think he's going to get fired. He's a Hall of Famer. I don't think the Niners want to do that to him. They can just be like, hey, man, I think it's probably in your interest to take one of those announcer jobs now because we want to give this team to Adam Peters. I mean, really, the way I look at it is they need to get John Lynch out of the building. He's hurting the team now. This whole Jimmy Garoppolo saga is his fault. It's his responsibility. They got to get him out. Get him out. Get Parag Marathe out. And just turn over the personnel department to Adam Peters. That's what I think. John Lynch is doing more harm than good at this point, and Parag Marathe is no longer necessary. I'm sorry. He's hurting the team too. We don't need a penny pincher and an emotional former player running this team because they're hurting it. Give the team over to Adam Peters. He could do it. He doesn't need Parag. So that's my answer to your question, Abel. Domain Threat says, in all fairness, it appears that the positions where we've lost folks, O-line, wide receiver, and even potentially safety, are deep positions in this draft. Okay, well, the Niners haven't shown an ability to draft good offensive linemen. If they draft a guy, is he going to be able to start and excel this year? They did it with McGlinchey. He was the 9th pick in the draft, and he was never good. They haven't done it with anyone else. Wide receiver, that's another position that generally takes a little while for a guy to contribute, at least if it's a good team. Sometimes it takes wide receivers 3 years. So, I mean, yeah, they'll draft a wide receiver. It's a deep class. But if you want, like, contributors, you might need to sign them. I'm just saying. Can we just swap seconds and thirds with the Colts and maybe even a third or something next year nah, I don't think so. I know the Niners want the 42nd pick. I don't think they're going to get the 42nd pick. They're holding out for that 42nd pick. They're not going to get it.